He was just a janitor. Until a secret hidden behind his eyes for years finally woke up. This story will move you deeply. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That morning, the executive floor hallways were quieter than usual. Maybe because it was the day the new CEO was going to step into the building. When the elevator doors opened, a young woman in a dark gray suit walked out and drew careful glances. Her name was Isabella. She had sharp features, but a fragile kind of grace. Behind her eyes was someone who had spent years fighting corporate battles. The company she had just taken over was on the brink of bankruptcy, and she knew it. The decisions she'd make this morning would change some people's lives forever, but she couldn't have guessed whose. At the end of the hallway, a man was quietly mopping the floor. His black t-shirt was soaked all the way up to his neck. He wasn't wearing the standard cleaning staff uniform, but there was a kind of discipline in his face that anyone paying close attention would notice right away. His shoulders were straight, his steps quiet but purposeful. His name was Noah, and no one knew his past. Here, he was just the janitor. But that morning, the moment the CEO stepped off the elevator, their eyes briefly met. No smile, no greeting, but both of them felt something shift. Isabella spent the whole day making decisions, signing contracts, and tearing through the board. But in the back of her mind, that man stayed. Why had he caught her attention like that? Dozens of employees, dozens of meetings. But that quiet man, like a shadow, kept following her thoughts. By the time the day ended, she was the last one to leave. As she opened her car door in the parking lot, she heard a sharp, high-pitched scream. She ran in seconds. The sound was coming from the back entrance of the building. The door had been left slightly open. When she stepped inside, she saw 3 men cornering someone in the dim corridor. The man was on the ground, holding his head. Isabella paused as she got closer. It was Noah, and he hadn't fallen. He had taken someone down. The other 2 were walking toward him with guns in their hands. But Noah's eyes were still calm, like he was in the middle of a military drill. Every instinct told Isabella to back away. But then her eyes caught one detail, the faded tattoo on Noah's arm. Small but unmistakable. An old Special Forces insignia, the kind only a few selected could wear. Her breath caught. This man wasn't ordinary. Right then, Noah grabbed a piece of pipe from the floor. In seconds, he took down the 2 attackers. Silent, precise, fast, and lethal. The whole thing lasted just 30 seconds. Isabella was frozen. Their eyes met again, and this time Noah spoke. "They saw you. I'm not the only one in danger anymore." That sentence would divide Isabella's life into 2. Isabella couldn't sleep that night. Not the failed investments at the office, not the board's veiled threats. The only thing on her mind was Noah. The man in plain clothes mopping the floors, the one no one even glanced at, had taken down 3 armed men in just 30 seconds. And his eyes hadn't changed while doing it. No anger, no panic, just a sense of duty. Like a soldier. No, like a warrior. In the morning, she wanted to check the security footage, but the files had been deleted from the system. There were no recordings of the exact moment. The IT team said it was probably a technical glitch. But Isabella no longer believed in coincidences. There was something buried deep within the company, and that something was directly connected to a man hiding behind the identity of a janitor. By noon, she started going through employee records to find Noah. The file was nearly empty. No references, no previous jobs, not even an emergency contact. Just a hire date from 4 months ago, and an illegible signature underneath. A background that clean could only be created by someone with a very dirty past. Isabella called her personal security and asked for a private investigation on Noah. But what she heard left her completely unprepared. Her bodyguard whispered on the other end of the line. While checking this name's background, restricted federal systems issued a warning. An access code was triggered. They questioned me about who I am. He's listed under a code name, Shadow. I was told if I dig further, I'll be visited personally. They also told me to tell you, stay away. Isabella's throat went dry. Codename, Shadow. At that moment, Noah's words echoed in her mind. I'm not the only one in danger anymore. Her instincts told her one of those men hadn't come for Noah but for her. But why? That same evening, she stayed late at the office again. The building was empty. Even the security guards had gone to rest. She thought she was alone, until the lights in her office suddenly went out. She froze in the dark. Her computer shut down. Her phone had no signal. She stood up. When she looked out the window, She saw the park lights going out one by one. This was planned, and someone was heading inside. Just then, the door opened. Noah slipped in like a shadow. In his hand was the security badge Isabella had given him. He was aware of everything happening outside. "Someone's targeting you," he said, short and to the point. "This isn't just business. This isn't cleanup. This is an erase without a trace operation." Isabella stared at him, speechless. "Who are you, Noah?" Noah locked eyes with her. "I'm the last person sent to save you." In the darkness of the office, Noah's warning still echoed in Isabella's ears. "I'm not the only one in danger anymore." In just one night, her entire reality had crumbled. A woman who used to start her mornings sipping coffee, living a life filled with corporate reports, charts, and investor presentations, had now become a target. She was thrown into an invisible threat, alongside a mysterious man who claimed he was assigned to protect her. But from what or from whom? Before leaving the building that night, Noah had handed her a small USB drive. Its shiny metal surface was blank, completely neutral. But the moment she held it in her hand, she felt a strange chill on her fingertips, as if the data it carried wasn't just digital but emotional, too. It was past midnight by the time she got home. She pulled all the curtains, shut down the security cameras, and opened her laptop. When she plugged in the drive, 2 encrypted folders immediately popped up on the screen: Echo Red and Level 7. Both had digital patterns that resembled military seals. The computer gave a warning: classified access code required. Acting on impulse, she started trying variations of her name. Her mother's name, her first pet, her birthday. All rejected. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes. Holding the USB in her hand, she replayed those short but unforgettable moments with Noah. The first time they locked eyes, the silence in his stare, then the sentence he'd said during the attack behind the building: "I'm not the only one in danger anymore." Instinctively, she took the first letters and their number equivalents and typed them as a combination: ASBTD. The screen flickered. The folders unlocked. The first one, Echo Red, was full of mission files. But they weren't ordinary missions. Each one was listed under Domestic Destabilization Prevention. Code names, dates, aborted assassination plans, profiles of internal informants. And at the bottom, one line: Operator N, 14 acted outside protocol following critical mission. Protected civilian, IG, code level 5. Isabella rubbed her eyes. She hadn't seen that code name before, but the line that followed chilled her to the bone: Shadow protocol activated. Protection mission to be transitioned into permanent relationship cover. Target: civilian trust acquisition. What did that even mean? Was Noah assigned just to protect her? Or had his closeness, his trust, even his presence been part of a deeper plan? Right then, the screen froze, and then went black. A single message appeared: "You are being watched." The laptop fan suddenly roared. The hard drive clicked louder. She yanked out the USB and shut the laptop in a panic, but it was too late. The connection had been made. Her identity was now exposed. Around 5 a.m., her phone vibrated. No caller ID. One message on the screen: "Don't enter the building this morning. You're under surveillance. Do you remember the secure exit?" Attached was a map, showing a hidden service corridor not listed in the company's security systems, only found in old plans. This corridor had been designed for use during security threats in high-level military projects. But this was just a tech company, or so she thought. That morning, Isabella got ready as if it were any normal day. She put on her suit, tied up her hair. But the eyes in the mirror looked different now. She wasn't just a CEO anymore, she was someone ready to face something from her past. When she entered the building, everything looked normal from the outside. But inside, there was a cold order. The security guards avoided eye contact. The secretaries were quieter. Everyone seemed to know something, but no one said a word. By the time 3 members of the board walked into her office, Isabella was already standing. "We need to talk," they said. The first to speak was the chief advisor. "Your CEO privileges are temporarily suspended. Security reports indicate inappropriate affiliations and suspected internal data leaks. We're turning you over to Central Security. Please come with us." Just as Isabella was about to respond, a new figure appeared in the corner of the room. He had entered silently, wearing a suit and gray glasses, almost impossible to describe. He didn't say a word. He just stared from a distance. And Isabella knew this man wasn't a corporate official. This man was a representative of something beyond the government. At that exact moment, a second message lit up on her phone. Main exit closing soon. Last chance. Her instincts were screaming, run. Isabella looked around the room one last time. In the eyes of the so-called advisors, there was nervousness, and in the posture of the gray-eyed stranger, a cold-blooded threat. He seemed like someone who listened to every word but showed no expression. Not a corporate figure, more like a reflection of one of those shadow missions Noah had once been a part of. He wasn't a government employee, he was an operative. And his mission was clear: silence. At that moment, she looked at the map on her phone one last time. A corridor starting from an old janitor's closet at the east end of the ground floor. A passage not even shown in technical drawings, known only to those with emergency protocol clearance. In her mind, she didn't call it an escape, she called it an exit. Because this wasn't just running, it was stepping out of a reality. She turned her eyes to the window, thinking about the blind spots in the security cameras. The air ducts through the office, the employee lounge, then the old generator room. It all matched the plan Noah had once shown her. And at the end of that plan, there was only one door. Who or what was behind it, no one knew. The council's shadow representative turned his head slightly. He was testing Isabella's focus. But she had already started counting silently in her head. 3 steps to the left. Exit the door. Turn left, service stairs. Then down. Suddenly, she turned and quickly walked out the door. Please, I just need to grab a few personal things, she shouted. And without wasting a second, she started running. When she reached the stairwell, she angled her soles to muffle the sound of her shoes. Tom was running out, and just as she reached the generator room, she heard footsteps. Someone was coming, but it wasn't a security guard. The steps were quick but unhurried, rhythmic, measured. When she turned around, he was already there, waiting. Noah. His eyes looked a bit more tired, his clothes dustier, but he stood tall and steady. It was once again him who broke the silence. I came to get you. Isabella paused. I know everything. The surveillance, the protocols, the civilian protection assignments. All of it. Noah just nodded. I never lied to you. But yes, I didn't tell you everything either. That was the first fragile silence between them. Not mistrust, but a sense of honesty left unfinished. Noah continued. The land this company is built on used to be a military network hub. Back then, this was the core command center for Operation Cassandra. From the outside, it looked like an ordinary communications point, but inside, it was a base for code breaking and redirection ops. Years ago, it was believed to be shut down. But Cassandra never ended. It just disguised itself as a company. Isabella's face went pale. So right now I'm not just a CEO. Was I brought into this position on purpose? Noah answered without looking away. Your intelligence, your instincts, your adaptability, yes. But more importantly, your past. Your father's engineering schematics formed the first encryption base of Cassandra. And when he died, some pieces went missing. Isabella's head spun. Everything was clicking into place like a puzzle. Things her mother had said years ago, but she'd brushed off. Schematics her father used to draw at midnight. The phone lines that never worked right. All of it had led to this moment. Do they want to kill me? She whispered. Noah looked down. No, they want to transform you. And while doing it, they plan to isolate you to control you. But my mission wasn't control. It was to give you a choice. And in that moment, Isabella understood. Noah's presence wasn't surveillance. It was a line, a threshold, a path that could lead to her freedom, or the beginning of a life lived entirely in the shadows. Then Noah handed her a small envelope. Inside was an old Polaroid photo. A woman, young, eyes just like Isabella's. A pen in her hand, a holographic schematic in front of her. On the back, a single note, codename Cassandra. When the final plan is complete, she will choose. The narrow walls of the hidden passage carried the scent of old metal, like the ghost of a buried past clinging to their skin. The concrete beneath their feet had carried thousands of steps over the years, but had recorded none of them. Silence echoed off the walls, just like the whispered orders, blind obedience, and covert executions that once happened here. But this time, it was a CEO who was walking through, and the man beside her was an operator who no longer followed orders. Isabella slipped the envelope into her pocket. The Polaroid she held showed a version of her mother that had never made it into any photo album. A young woman, a shy smile on her face, but in her eyes, an expression like she feared the future. The note on the back of the photo was crystal clear, codename Cassandra. When the final plan is complete, she will choose. Noah walked ahead. He paused for a moment, checking the wall markings with a flashlight, then turned his eyes to Isabella. Whatever you hear from now on, whatever you see, don't forget, I'm not here to protect you. I'm here to wake you up. Isabella nodded silently. A mission had begun to take root in her heart, too. The corridor finally opened up. They reached an old door. The rusted handle turned with effort, the hinges creaking like they were crying in pain. The room behind it was surprisingly clean. Some of the ceiling lights still worked. The monitors on the walls weren't active, but screen outlines were still visible. In the center, a massive terminal, a swivel chair in front of it, and on the desk an object, a small sphere, black surface, but when the light hit it, crimson veins seemed to appear inside. As Isabella approached, a hologram activated. It requested an eye scan. Noah gave her a slight nod. Your father designed the first version of this terminal. Now it has a reason to recognize you. Isabella focused her eyes on the screen. With a single beep, the system unlocked. A message started scrolling across the hologram. Cassandra entry protocol activated. Observer level 5 access granted. Last system use, 17 years ago. Active plan, Aurora. Target, eliminate non-government structure leaking internal intel. Suddenly, dozens of names, dates, and connection maps flooded the screen. Corporate logos, encrypted versions of government agencies, links to a global security network. But the most striking was the file that appeared in the center of the map, IG, daughter of Cassandra. Isabella's eyes widened. I'm not the target. I'm the key to the system. Noah nodded quietly. When you were born, your mother froze the Cassandra project. A deal was made. They would keep you away from all of it. But the system never forgot you. And until you returned, it stayed shut down. Isabella took a step back. The coldness of the room didn't freeze her body, it froze her mind. So my mother was active in the project? And my father was labeled an enemy because of this. Noah lowered his head. Your father tried to deactivate the system. He wanted it to rust in his hands. But your mother, instead of protecting him, she chose to protect you. And in that moment, Isabella understood her family had made a choice. To shut down the system or to save the child. They had chosen to put Cassandra to sleep. But now Cassandra was waking up again. Because the system still recognized Isabella as the key. Right then, the screen flickered. A new system message appeared. Data upload in progress. Live targets matched. Surveillance network engaged. Operator N, 14 deviation detected. Level 7 cleanse protocol activated. Isabella turned around. Noah was silent, but something in his eyes had changed. Something had cracked inside. He took a deep breath. What does that mean, Noah? Noah spoke slowly. They're sending me against you. Isabella's heart skipped a beat. So your mission now is to stop me. Noah lowered his head. My mission was to protect you. But in Cassandra's eyes, you're now marked as a threat. The moment you activated the system, the order changed. Silence. Then Isabella stepped forward. And you? She asked. Will you carry out that order? Noah looked up. His voice was cracked. No, but this will be the most dangerous decision I've ever made in my life. Red alerts kept flashing on the holographic screen. Level 7 cleansing protocol active. Operator N, 14. Unauthorized action detected. Live monitoring initiated. Noah closed the security panel next to the terminal, manually disabling part of the system. But they both knew it was just a delay of a few minutes. Cassandra was now awake, and the system would do whatever it took to protect itself. We have to go, Noah said, and we have to move fast. Isabella turned her head, her eyes still locked on the photo of her mother in her youth. What happens after that? Wherever we go, this system will find us. Noah's voice faltered for a moment. That's why we have to shut it down from the inside. What does that mean? Isabella asked. Noah pulled a small black box from his pocket. Inside, a glowing, thin circuit. The last thing a worn-out operative would carry, a kill switch. This is the only manual code that can crash Cassandra's core mind. But it can only be activated with Founder Protocol access. His eyes locked onto hers. Which means, it only works if it matches your heartbeat. And in that moment, everything clicked into place in Isabella's mind. All these years, she hadn't just been a victim, she had been a key. Her family had cut her off from the world to protect her from the system. But the system had never forgotten her. She took a deep breath. Let's do it. They reached the heart of the old network hub, the room where Cassandra's physical main processor was kept. In the center of the room stood a large sphere. Thin holographic rings rotated around it. Each ring represented the thousands of people Cassandra had observed over the years. And at the center, Isabella's name. As Isabella stepped onto the platform, the system recognized her biometric data. The light reflecting on the sphere turned from white to red. A voice echoed. A female voice. Calm, but emotionless. Good day, Cassandra. Noah handed her the box. Her hands trembled. She placed the device on the sphere. The system trembled. This time, the voice hesitated. This process will result in permanent data erasure. Proceed. Isabella closed her eyes. She thought of her mother's youth, her father's lost engineering notes, every second she had spent with Noah. But more than anything, she thought of the fate trapped inside a system. Proceed, she said, and lowered her finger. The system shook as if it were screaming. Lights flashed. The room trembled. Screens went dark one by one. Holograms collapsed. Codes on the walls flickered. And then, silence. Cassandra was gone. Noah stepped back a few steps, breathing heavily, his eyes still squinting in the light. You stopped the system, he said in a hoarse voice. Isabella turned to him. You stepped out of your mission, too. They looked at each other for a while. For the first time beyond orders, codes, missions, or titles as two people. Silently, as if freed from their burdens. Noah held her gaze. So what will you do now? Isabella smiled. A light but liberated smile. From now on, I'll make my own choices. Not as a CEO, not as Cassandra, just as me. Noah lowered his head. Then I guess, my mission is over, too. He turned to leave, but Isabella took a step forward. No, maybe we have a new mission. She looked up. To rebuild. Not from the shadows, but in the daylight. Something in Noah's eyes broke. Then something new formed. Hope. Days later, leaked documents led to headlines about an old surveillance system secretly operating in the company's headquarters. No one mentioned Noah. Isabella didn't say a word. But the board quietly changed. Old systems were dismantled. And each morning, as Isabella walked into the building on her own 2 feet, there were no more shadows in her eyes. Only determination. At the front door stood a man, leaving behind his janitor's uniform. There was no more mission on his shoulders. But his name was still Noah. And now, he was the commander of his own life. If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video. Share how it made you feel in the comments, because here, every story is a voice, and every comment leaves a mark. Subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. There are still many truths waiting for you.